Hi, my name is Joseph, and welcome to part 12 of chapter 1 of Eiji, Wolf of the Ninth Avenue. So this picks up right where we left off, at the top of the roof, and Eiji gets a bird's eye view of the wasp slum. What is the wasp slum? Well, Eiji's shocked to discover that it looks very much cyberpunk. Rather than looking like what they being the digital world, rather than the digital world looking like a natural landscape, the way that the Denron lab had a projected image of the digital world, it does not look like that. And Eiji describes it as looking cyberpunk. In addition to that, it's described also as looking like a colony type city built on an exoplanet. Buildings are varying sizes and height, and it's the landscape is that of Denren and of the Middle East. Logomon asks what is cyberpunk, and Eiji just again reaffirms the fact that it's a bunch of buildings rather than a natural landscape. And this is where Logomon explains, this is wasp slum. So the area that they're located in, that's what it's called, its name, the wasp slum. And it also gets revealed that apparently we being the audience, and Eiji as well, we're not actually in the digital world proper. After this, it's explained that there's varying levels of the internet. Excuse me, my cat is in front of my notes, so let me just quickly, I'm not going to push her aside, but just get my notes aside. Excuse me. And thank you for your patience, everyone. So, excuse me, okay, here it is. So, it's explained, Logomon explains that the internet is divided into multiple parts. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I continue, Logomon explains that wasp slum is looking like a city on top of an eggshell, and it's surrounded by some kind of wall, the security wall. Yes, so Logomon, excuse me guys, everyone, see, my cat. It's a city of security walls protecting the digital world with hives of junk data clinging to the outer walls of the slum city, and wasp slum sits on a round surface. After this, Logomon explains that the internet is also divided. So wasp slum is divided into different parts, kind of like a pizza slice as explained in the chapter, or excuse me, the part. And then beyond that, we get a deeper explanation of the digital world in general. So beyond the wasp slum. So it begins with the surface web. The surface web, that's where the media is located, where people obtain their news, and where people traverse the internet utilizing Google and things like that, going to visit a website. After that, it's the deep web. This is where financial, academic, and regular medical, I don't know what word that was. Let me start over. Financial, academic, and medical records are located, and beyond that as well, other forms of records as well, not just those three types. So essentially private information. And then beyond the deep web, there is then the dark web. This is where the black market is located, hidden forums, illegal activity is done. This is where code crackers and the Digipolice operate. And then after that, we have the wasp slum itself with the security wall, and then the deep digital world, which has not yet been explored yet. So this kind of goes back to part 1 where I explained, or part 2 where I explained I felt like Eiji is more of a pioneer rather than just an adventurer. But we'll get to that during the analysis, during the analytical portion. It's going to be my cat. She's being very attentive today. So after Eiji sees the digital world for the first time from this bird's eye perspective, he comes to understand why the international government agencies, why they want to keep the digital world a secret, because it's very looking like, again, it's stated once again that Digimon are alive, because it's looking very much like the digital world has a huge influence on the real world. Again, that connection between the two. But while the real world does influence the digital world and vice versa, it's looking like there's more harm that could be done coming from the digital world. And I suppose this would make sense why, within the Denzinians of the digital world, they're already interacting with the real world, but it's not really true vice versa. What I mean is that the Digimon are not yet entering the real world. Humans are starting to enter the digital world, quote unquote, right? Because again, it's been explained, we're not really in the deep digital world. We're just in the security portion, the superficial part of it, the wasp slum. So I think that's a cool detail. So moving on forward, let me go back to my notes. So Digimon are alive. We'll get to that in the analytical portion. What's being stated here is the difference between sentience and sapience. After this, Eiji's HUD, or the heads-up display, becomes more detailed, and it starts looking more like a cockpit. And Eiji reminds everyone. Okay, yeah. Double check my notes. Logomon reminds Eiji if he remembers about their mission, and Eiji's confused. And Logomon states, "You really are a silly individual," and reminds him about Operation Wolf. As it turns out, they're already 2 minutes late on meeting their handler, who's going to give them their entry mission to enter the Sons of Chaos. Because we want to forget that Eiji's main objective is to infiltrate the Sons of Chaos to discover who Tartarus is and what the objective is for this group of code crackers. So, excuse me, my cat. So at this point, they go to the meeting area, and a Digimon in rags is speaking with them on top of a antenna roof. On top of a. I wrote this down because I wanted from the roof of an antenna facility. Excuse me, I was stumbling over my words. And this Digimon in rags, he just tells them that they've been late. They're 2 minutes late. Logomon explains that they had a quick personal matter that they needed to take care of. Hopefully he can understand. And then at this point, even Logomon is shocked to discover that right next to him, who's right there? Eiji has Hollow-Eyed. Eiji explains that since the linker strap, the way he's been utilizing it in the real world, he decided if he could have Logomon Hollow-Eyed in the real world via the linker strap, or why not vice versa? So Eiji made the choice to Hollow-Eyed himself and do the opposite. Instead of making Logomon project, Eiji is projecting himself. The difference being, though, so if we recall, when Logomon first Hollow-Eyes in Eiji's room, his flat, Eiji cannot touch him. His hand goes through him because he's just a holographic image, Hollow-Eyed form of Logomon. This is not true for Eiji. Eiji is able to physically interact with Logomon. How do we know this? Because Eiji reaches out and tries to pet Logomon, and Logomon growls. And then if anyone owns any cats, this part made me chuckle, but Logomon puts his paws on his forehead, the way that a cat does. I thought that was very cute. So what's going on right there? Logomon explains since the linker strap gets the consciousness and turns it into data, since data in the real world is, well, just data, right? If we were to get codes, a really great example about this would be like the Matrix, the lines of data or the lines of code. We can't interact with that. We could only program it. This is not true for the digital world, since data is real, data is tangible, because of this, Eiji's consciousness, despite being data, that's why he's able to have a physical form, because of the difference between the two. So hopefully that makes sense. And Logomon explains that obviously, since Eiji is mind linking with Logomon, he cannot go very far from Logomon, otherwise the connection will drop. After this, Eiji turns around and looks at the Digimon handler in rags and his poncho, his coat. I'm kind of thinking of like Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. I know that the poncho has been removed from it's not as prevalent in Jedi Survivor. But anywho, excuse me everyone, that was my cat. She knocked over something at the side. Eiji turns around and he tells the individual, I'm looking down because I actually did write this down verbatim. It's in my next page. Excuse me everyone. He looks at the Digimon handler and tells him, or the Sons of Chaos handler, and tells him, I'm Codecracker Fang. And then the handler tells him, I thought your name was Eiji. And then Codecracker Fang says, there's no need to focus on the details. What is our mission? The individual in the rag states that their mission is to map out Waslam, or more specifically, Ninth Avenue, to map out Ninth Avenue. He projects a map of Waslam and explained that Waslam is divided into portions. It's also further explained that Sons of Chaos, they utilize not the demographics, the logistics of Waslam. That's not the word that I wanted to use. The landscape. I was going to say the atmosphere. I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words this morning. Excuse me. But they utilize Sons of Chaos, utilize the landscape of Sons of Chaos. Sons of Chaos utilize the landscape of Waslam to conduct their business. But since the Waslam is the superficial layer of the digital world, it's constantly changing because of the interaction with the real world. So what was once present the previous day might be different the next day. So that's why he being the Sons of Chaos handler, is going to send Logomon and Eiji to map out the Ninth Avenue. And at this point, Logomon actually laughs out loud and he says, this is perfect. And Eiji asks what's going on. Logomon says he has some personal matters to attend to. And then they walk away, and that's where the part ends. So let me quickly read out the last portion. A mapping tool, huh? Logomon understands the contents in less than a second. He is indeed a Digimon in this respect. All you have to do is walk around the area while running the tool and it will auto map it for you. We want you to investigate 9th Avenue. Logomon laughs. Perfect. What do you mean? I got some business to attend to. The Logomon turns his head. Logomon, are we good? I mean, in terms of explanation, Eiji hurries after Logomon. The Ragcloth Digimon quietly sees them off. I pray that you will pass. For Tadara's sake, I hope the day will come when I can call you a member of SOC, or Sons of Chaos. So that's where part 12 ends. Really quickly, there's a part that I accidentally glossed over. After Eiji explains how he hollow-eyed himself, Logomon, who again was shocked to discover Eiji next to him, he tells Eiji, wow, you either are very stupid or maybe you're actually quite brave. And that's the correct word I might want to be using in this instance. So excuse me. So my cat isn't on my notebook, so let me quickly move her. There we go. Not move her, but just nudge her aside. So let's go ahead and look at the quotes that I wanted to focus on. So the first one being, the digital world is protected by a security wall. It's a city stuck on an eggshell. So the interior is underground. On Earth, it would be underground, but this is the digital world. The areas are divided and protected from each other. The security wall, or the ground you can see from here, is a data processing, logical, and conceptual boundary between the real world and the digital world. So the reason why I like this quote a lot is because I'm just really appreciating the description of the digital world. As an individual who has read other material where there's alternate realities or alternate worlds and things like that, I'm just really appreciating how the digital world is being described as such a way that despite it being similar to the real world, it operates differently. So what we believe to be underground, right? If we were to dig underground, what will we find? Well, underground, right? Dirt, the crust, if you keep going deeper, and then eventually the core, right? As it turns out for the digital world, this is not so much the case. If one goes deeper, they're actually going to go beneath the superficial and start encountering the real aspect of the digital world, the deep digital world. So I'm looking forward to how this will be described. It kind of reminds me, and I think I'm just thinking about this since we discussed this in a previous part, but it kind of reminds me of like Plato's allegory of the cave that hoe. We believe we understand the whole scenario, but when we go outside of the cave, as it turns out, it was just one aspect of a much greater hoe. So we'll see how this will be handled in future parts, if it will be handled, if we'll come back to it. So just a minor detail that I enjoyed. The next quote being, yes, the Digimon that code crackers grab are just the... let me start over, excuse me. Yes, the Digimon that code crackers grab are just those running around Waslam. Most code crackers don't even mind Link, so they'll never even see this view. Logomon's answer leaves Eiji speechless. For example, are Eiji's Tyrannomon and his friends... So the typo here is a little bit wonky. For example, are Eiji's Tyrannomon and his friends chasing Madoki Betamon somewhere in here? Have anyone gone beyond the security wall? Has anyone gone beyond the security wall? Have they visited or observed the digital world? Humans? I doubt it. Though I bet that Ryuzenji is researching a means to do so. Unprecedented. The digital world has never been visited by any human being, with the exception being Waslam. So I like this just because, again, it's really being emphasized that Eiji is coming to understand that Digimon, they're not just programs, they truly are beyond just AI individuals, they're complete individuals. So let me quickly, I'm going a little bit ahead of myself, but I want to discuss the difference between sentience and sapience. So when it comes to sentience, what that refers to is where one is able to respond to their own emotions, or one is able to actually, let me just pull up the definition. So the word sentience, sapience means the ability to think, the capacity for intelligence, the ability to acquire wisdom. The word, sorry everyone, I should have had this up. Let me just look it up separately. So, oops. Oh no, it's okay everyone, we're a-okay. Unexpected things happens in real life and we just have to deal with it. All right, so sentience is a capacity of a being to experience feelings and sensations. So a lot of animals do experience this. So the sentience is the capacity of a being to experience feeling and sensations. For example, when we see some dogs, some cats, even some horses, the elephants as well, the way that they're reacting emotionally to a situation, they're either going to like or dislike what's going on. They'll engage with it. And then when it comes to sapience, oh no, so there's no, I just used Google and unfortunately no automatic definition popped up. So I'm just gonna click on a website. Excuse me, everyone. I don't know why I'm struggling so much just finding a definition. Well, I'm gonna I do thank everyone for their patience. Let me just right, I tried to go to Oxford's English dictionary. And it so right here it's stated great intelligence or knowledge. So when it comes to sentience, one is just able to react to the situation that they're in. But when it comes to sapience, one is able to not just react but learn from the situation and respond to that situation. So, for example, if an elephant was in a situation where they don't like what's going on, they won't just accept it. They won't just express that they're dissatisfied. They'll start engaging with it. So they'll actually go, well, what's going on that I don't like? How can I remove it? I'm going to start removing it, and then I'll be in a happier place. So that's what's going on right here. The reason why I believe the Digimon seekers keep saying Digimon are alive, the reason why we keep coming back to that idea is because for Eiji, again, he's going through levels of understanding what Digimon specifically are as beings. He thought they were just programs. They're not. He thought that they were sentient, but they're not. They're actually sapient. They're individuals. That's why Logomon in the last part, why he kind of took a little bit of offense. Digimon are alive. We are our own individuals, and we always have been. We always were, and we always will be. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. The difference between sentience and sapience. Pardon me for that long pause. I wanted to use a direct definition, but for whatever reason, finding a definition for sapience, it just didn't pop up automatically. And the other websites, it's just I didn't like the way that they looked. It didn't look very professional or scholarly. Hence why I decided just to go to Oxford English Dictionary. For whatever reason, when I look up satience, if I could show you guys my view screen, there's a definition right off the top of the page. But yes. So again, I do like this. I originally looked up sentience versus sapience, and right here it stated sapience means the ability to think, the capacity for intelligence, the ability to acquire wisdom. So in other words, the learning from the situation one is in and reacting upon that. Again, hopefully that makes sense. If it does not, please feel free to say something in the comments, to reach out via a message, because I do believe we're going to keep coming back to this idea that Digimon are alive, right? We could probably make a silly drinking game out of that statement, right? How many times has that been stated already? But again, I think there's a reason for that. Part of it is probably because of the wonky translation, but I do appreciate Digimon Seekers doing its best to emphasize the subject matter. Anywho, so continuing forward, what I also like about the quote that we were just discussing, so that again, for example, our Eiji's Tyrannomon and its friend chasing Madoki Betamon somewhere in here, that realization for Eiji that Digimon are not just sentient but sapient, but in the bottom part, how humans have not explored anything beyond the Waslam. Excuse me, that was a hiccup. We have the professor who's trying to go beyond that. Again, really emphasizing how the professor truly is a researcher, someone who takes his curious side quite seriously, right? He wants to discover what's beyond Waslam, but also at the same time, there might be why does he want to do that? Does he want to do that because he truly just wants to protect the digital world and Digimon, or could there be a hidden objective somewhere, right? I'm going to hope that it's not a hidden. Oh, if there is a hidden objective, that it's not going to make him a villain. He might just be a little bit extreme in the idea of protecting the digital world and Digimon. So continuing forward, it's easy to understand why the leaders of the international community are so reluctant to refer to the digital world as anything other than mankind's secret. This digital world can do anything to the real world and to mankind itself. Digimon are alive, and the world that harbors life, wherever it may be, is filled with an energy that makes no sense. So this is where I want to start discussing the sentience versus sapiens, but I jumped the gun a little bit just because I think it was a natural segue in that other quote as well. But this last part, and the world that harbors life, wherever it may be, is filled with an energy that makes no sense. Again, this might just be me making something out of nothing, but I can't help but feel like this is Seekers attempting to be a little bit nuanced, kind of hinting at that life is not just simple or black and white. This is actually kind of a funny coincidence because what I stated earlier when my item fell in the background, then I said this is fine. This is how life is. When something unexpected occurs, we just have to keep pushing through it. I kind of feel like that line is reiterating or highlighting that aspect. Wherever that life is, it's filled with an energy that makes no sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Well, because that's just how life is. Life is nuanced. It's not black and white. Yeah, and then again, the digital world can do anything to the real world and to mankind itself, just really emphasizing the connection between these two worlds, yet we're unaware about it. Despite being unaware, does that mean that there's no connection? No, of course not. So we'll see if Seekers is going to do anything with these ideas, but I am happy that they're kind of discussing it a little bit, even if it is superficial. Discussing what? The idea that there is no just black and white to life. It's always going to be gray. It's always going to be nuanced. Continuing forward, actually, okay, and then it's easy to understand why the leaders of the international community are so reluctant to refer to the digital world as anything other than mankind's secret, emphasizing that there seems to be some fear, some apprehension about what else there could be between the digital world and the human world. And I really like that. I never really thought of the digital world as something to be imposing or intimidating, but in the world of Digimon Seekers, it's looking like that might be the case, or it might be a factor to consider. So a heads-up monitor appear. I was debating if I didn't want to discuss this, but I like the second part. a heads-up virtual monitor appears in front of Eiji's conscious mind, which is up until now only a thinking eye. It looks like the cockpit of a state-of-the-art fighter jet. It's like the cockpit from a robot anime. What's wrong, Logomon? Eiji, you do remember why you came here, don't you? Silence. Oh, sorry. I forgot that you're a pathetic code cracker. An image appears on the virtual monitor. Operation Wolf. Sons of Chaos, the SOC job. So the reason why I wanted to point out this, pardon the wonky translation again, but the reason why I wanted to point out this quote is just the statement, oh sorry, I forgot that you're a pathetic code cracker. I think that could be misinterpreted as Logomon being very cruel, very rude, but I think in this instance it's just Logomon being matter of fact. It's so far from the two parts that we have of Logomon speaking, it's looking like he's a very astute individual. He's aware of his surroundings and aware of his surroundings and the context of those surroundings. And he's looking like he's also an individual who can become impatient. He wants to get the job done. He wants to continue moving forward with what it is that he's attempting to do, right? So that's why Logomon states this. I forgot that you're a pathetic code cracker. I think that's just him saying, oh, I forgot that you have a tendency to kind of slip behind a little bit. But like Logomon, I would argue that Eiji has a lot of qualities that's similar to Logomon. As I just stated, who else is like that, where they keep going when they have an objective? I would say that's also Eiji, maybe Eiji-like. But so yeah, I just wanted to highlight this because I don't think this is meant to be a negative comment. It could be said much more nicely, but there's a difference between being vindictive and just being informative, and I think Logomon here is just being a matter of fact. Hopefully that makes sense. Please do let me know if it doesn't. Continuing forward, Eiji, where do you come from so suddenly? So this is after Eiji hollow eyes this. Eiji, where did you come from so suddenly? Huh? I mean, when you mind link, you can control a lot of things in the virtual monitor just by thinking about them, right? And there's a hollow eyes command too. Since this is the digital world, I thought I could maybe hollow eyes, so I give it a try, and it worked. So you weren't scared that something might go wrong? You're pretty stupid. Or maybe brave is a better way to put it. Logomon seems to have stopped thinking deeply, and then we'll stop right here. So I like this line a lot because again, it really emphasizes Logomon's his capacity to observe, and the fact that even he got shocked right here. I thought that was cool. It's looking like Logomon so far, he's very sure of himself, even when he's in a place that has changed. Like in the last part, he's been missing and Chumon tells him, "Oh, I've heard rumors that you were taken away by a human. You were taken away in a digital egg, a digitama." And Logomon, kind of without a beat, goes, "Oh, well, that's not true. You believing such things that an assassin could come after me or someone could put a collar on me?" That's a quick reminder that the part used the word assassin, so I'm going to use that as well. Logomon, I don't think he likes it. He doesn't like making it obvious that he's confused or he's not understanding what's going on. And yeah, right here we get in. He's shocked. Where did you come from so suddenly? And then his statement, "You're pretty stupid," or maybe brave is a better way to put it. Again, I think that just reinforces that Logomon is not a rude individual. He just states things not superficially, but he just states things as they are. Obviously, he needs to do a better job of addressing statements like that. But again, I don't think he's trying to be vindictive. And then moving on, so this is a great segue because the next part I want to focus on is Eiji extends his hand and pets his forehead, Logomon's forehead. Logomon growls, "Huh? Did you growl at me? Don't touch my forehead." Logomon bares its fangs. "Oh, sorry, but how can I touch you? You're a hallucination." Eiji is surprised that he can touch him. Logomon rubs its head with its paws like a cat. If a Digimon holowizes in the real world, it's just data. But if it holowizes in the digital world, the data is an actual entity in our world. Oh wow, a real holozization. Eiji manages to make sense of it. In case you're wondering, you can't go too far away from the Mind Link Digimon. In this case, me. I just really like this line because again, we're continuing with that world building, but world building in association with characterization. I think this line further supports my line of thinking that Logomon is an impatient Digimon, but he tries he tries his best to be understanding with other individuals when he's working in a community. But he's also very independent. If one does something that he does not agree to, he's going to show his disdain. He's going to show that he's not his dissatisfaction. He has no qualms about hiding if he's unhappy. I think that's really cool. It's looking like Logomon. Well, I guess it makes sense why Toretomon, when he went into that dock in part 4 or part 5, why they all went to the corner. It really does seem like Logomon imposes his will wherever he's at. That could be a bad thing. Right? When someone is imposing the will, that means that they're utilizing their agency to ignore other people's agency or to put down other people's agency. Usually in a community, everyone's agency. I wish I could think of another synonym. It should be working in unison. It should be working together, not in a dominating, subjugating kind of way. But we'll see how we'll continue forward from here. I think Logomon's obviously aware that Eiji is his partner, and he's kind of quote unquote stuck with Eiji. And we've already seen how Logomon treats other individuals, like with Chumon. So we're going to see how Logomon treats Eiji once he realizes, he being Logomon, that Eiji is his equal, not his inferior, but they're meant to be working as partners. Yeah, I was just making sure I discussed everything I want to discuss. So standing next to Logomon, Eiji turns toward the ragged cloth Digimon again. Like I said, I'm Codecracker Fang. I thought it was Eiji. The ragged cloth Digimon coldly rebukes him. No need to focus on the details. So what's the job? According to the information I was given by the interviewer, I'm supposed to ask for the details here. So I just like this. We've been focusing so much on Logomon. Now we got more. Now we can finally discuss some further characterization of Eiji. No, I'm being unfair. We had about 5 parts focusing on Eiji. But the way that he turns around, like I said, I'm Codecracker Fang. No need to focus on the details. Again, emphasizing how Eiji is a little bit like Logomon, just not to that same extreme. When Eiji wants to put something forward, he pushes it forward. He wants to make sure everyone understands that that's his will. We're going to see how this works in not a professional setting, but I suppose we're going to see how this characteristics works in unison with another individual who has the same mindset but is more steadfast in what they believe. What I mean by that is Logomon. Not only does one have to listen to what I say, but you have to agree with it as well. Right? Again, it's emphasizing how he's very independent. He wants to enforce his agency. Is that a good or a bad thing? I think this is a little bit like that, but very light. Again, emphasizing that Eiji and Logomon have some characteristics that are quite similar. And that's everything. The last page was the when I read the last portion. So that was part 12. Was that part 12? That's part 12. So far, I am enjoying chapter 1. I'm not familiar with light novels in general, so I'm not sure how long they typically are. But I think Digimon Seekers is doing such a fine job of making the audience care about the narration, care about the world building, and just care about the story, care about the narration or the story, care about the world building, and also caring about the characters. And I would argue that when it comes to any medium, be it a novel, be it a comic, TV show, movie, the most important elements is, well, why do I want to stay with this property? Typically, if the story kind of sucks, but the characters are interesting to be with, that's a valid thing to keep in mind. If the characters suck, but the story is very interesting, that's also a valid perspective to have. But what makes a fun show truly fun? When there's multiple elements, not just one element. And I would argue that so far we do have multiple elements that's engaging with the audience. The characterization, the world building, and the narration. Again, so far we are not really sure what the Sons of Chaos are doing, but the way that this part ends, and we're starting to engage with more Sons of Chaos members, I'm sure that eventually we're going to see. It's going to be revealed exactly if the Sons of Chaos are enemies, or maybe they're not as bad as we're meant to be made to believe. Maybe they have some positive factors, some positive goals, and Eiji will end up assisting them. But we don't know quite yet, right? Let me know what you think about this part or in general. Thank you so much for listening. Excuse me, I know I was stumbling over my words with this video, especially for that long portion when I was looking up sentience versus sapience. So I do thank you for your patience. As always, have a prodigious day, and I'll see you next week. Take care.